Hello everyone, welcome in online e-learning platform of Agriculturegk. Today we will discuss about your sources of microorganisms in food chain. Okay, now today's topic is about your sources of microorganisms in food chain. Okay, here is we are providing you a complete FSI exam course, and in that particular course we are providing you a full study material which is of your ebooks which are downloadable and as well as printable. Okay, we are also having in that particular course, that is test series as well as your old papers. All right, and this course is valid up to your exam, and in that particular course there is a discussion group also there. So this course is about like FSI assistant officer, your director post, as well as your state food safety officer exam courses. So this course is valid, and there is another course which is of your that is Tamil Nadu food safety officer course, and in that particular course we are also providing you a full study material which is of your ebooks, is YouTube class notes, previous year papers, as well as your that is test series which is based on your exam pattern. Okay, so if you want to purchase our courses, just go to the Play Store, install our app and get that particular course from there. Okay, so just start with the first slide. Okay, so here today's topic is about your sources of microorganisms in food chain. Okay, so right, so here what we're gonna start with our what are the sources, like what are the sources of your microorganisms. So what is sources? How can you say that that particular course is your sources, right? So here first one is your that is soil and water. So in these environment, organisms are generally encountered which are often foodborne bacteria. In previous classes we were discuss about your what are the foodborne pathogens which are generally causes that is which are contaminated your food with, that is called your foodborne pathogen. Okay, so here now the first thing is that, okay, what is, wait a minute. Okay, so here that is soil and water. So first one is soil and water. So in these environment, organisms are generally encountered which are often foodborne bacteria. Like sources of microorganisms in food means that in that particular food, where that particular food get the microorganism from, where, right? It means that in that particular food from where the microorganisms enter or encounter the food. Okay, so first one is your soil and water. It means that in that particular food from where the microorganisms enter, from soil or a water, right? So in these environment, organisms are generally encountered which are often foodborne. Like कोई भी bacteria वो कहाँ से enter हुआ, that is from your soil and water. Okay, so here what are the मतलब that is your bacteria or pathogens which are encountered in soil and water are, that is Alkagenesis, Bacillus, Citrobacter, and that is Clostridium, right? Corynebacterium, Enterobacter, Micrococcus. These are the pathogens or bacteria which are generally encountered from your into your food from your soil and water. Like next one is that for mold, some of the most commonly encountered in the soil, right? Some of are also present in their soil. So what are they? Like Aspergillus, Rhizopus, Penicillium, Trichothecium, Botrytis, Fusarium, and many more others. In these cases, yeast, a large number of yeast genera are found in the soil. Like in that particular soil there is a large number of genera of yeast. किसी भी particular soil में what will we see that a large number of yeast. Okay, कोई एक soil है उसमें क्या होता है, काफ़ी सारे yeast आपको देखने को मिलते हैं, and but their number are generally low in water. But as we compared soil, like if we compare that particular, here is a soil and here is a water, so what we will see that in water, like so the number of yeast are generally low as compared in soil. Means that in soil there are generally large, you can say higher number of yeast are there. Okay, next अगर हम देखें, that is your plant and plant products. First one is that pathogen should be entered into the food from the soil and water. Next one is from plant and plant products. So here the plant bacteria are often found in associated with the plants and plant products are the bacteria which are associated with your plant and plant products, which are your Acetobacter avena, Flavobacterium, Corthia, Lactobacillus, Leuconostoc, Pedococcus and Streptococcus. These are the bacteria which are found in the plants and plant product. Okay, means that ये वो bacteria हैं जो आपको कहाँ पे मिलेंगे, plants में या फिर plant के products में. Okay, as for the mold, the most important plant genera and those that can cause food spoilage of vegetables and fruits are included. एंड जनरली जो आप देखोगे मोल्ड्स, एज इन केस ऑफ योर मोल्ड, जनरली जो आपके प्लांट बॉर्न जेनेरा के होते हैं, यानी प्लांट बॉर्न मतलब कि आपके प्लांट से कोई भी जो है वो प्लांट से जनरेट हुआ है, दैट विल बी जनरेटेड फ्रॉम योर प्लांट. सो उस जेनेरा के कौन कौन से ऐसे पैथोजेंस या बैक्टीरिया आ गए जो आपके फूड को क्या कर रहे हैं, कंटामिनेट कर रहे हैं, तो स्पॉइलेज कर रहे हैं. जनरली कहाँ पर, आपके वेजिटेबल्स या फिर फ्रूट्स में. सो दीज आर योर फिजेरियम, एस्परजिलस, बॉट्रिएटस या ऑल्टरनेरिया, राइट. ये सारे पैथोजेंस आपके जनरली क्या करेंगे, basically they are contaminated your food. So the most commonly encountered genera of your yeast in plants products are generally Streptomyces, that is Rhododendron and Torullas. These are the genera of yeast in plant. Okay, that is your yeast genera which is found in your plants. Okay, this is the genera of your yeast and which is found in your plants. Okay. Now next one is your food utensils. Now some of your products are also been take place by the food utensils, like the food types of foodborne microbes that are found in food utensils depend upon the largely on types of food handled and cared of these utensils and their storage. Like as you see that some of the utensils are there and there is a chances of contamination, right. Microbes are there which can move freely in the air or anywhere else, so they can contaminate utensils easily. So that is why we can say that the type of foodborne microbes are also found in the food utensils, like, and that is depend on that quantity or quality. It's depend on the care or storage of that particular utensils. ठीक है, how you will take care of that utensils, how, where you have to store that particular that is utensils. ठीक है, means that किसी भी आपने देखे होंगे जो पैथोजेंस कैसे होते हैं, एयरबॉर्न होते हैं, तो वो एयर से आपके वन प्लेस से अनदर प्लेस जाते हैं, तो पैथोजेंस जो है वो आपके यूटेंसिल्स को इजीली आपको कंटेमिनेट कर सकते हैं, राइट. सो ये हमें किस पे डिपेंड करता है कि हम उस पर्टिकुलर यूटेंसिल्स को किस केयर के साथ रख रहे हैं, किस प्लेस पे स्टोर कर रहे हैं, राइट. एक पैथोजन फ्री प्लेस है या आपका कंटेमिनेटेड प्लेस है. नेक्स्ट अगर हम देखें, फॉर एग्जाम्पल द यूटेंसिल्स आर यूज इन हैंडलिंग ऑफ वेजिटेबल्स वुड बी एक्सपेक्टेड टू हैव ऑर्गेनिजम्स दैट आर एसोसिएटेड विद द वेजिटेबल्स. लाइक अगर आपने किसी पर्टिकुलर दैट इज यू हैव टेकन अ वेजिटेबल एंड यू जस्ट स्टोर दैट पर्टिकुलर वेजिटेबल इन पर्टिकुलर यूटेंसिल्स, so what are the chances that in particular utensils where you will see that the microorganisms which are present is generally associated with your vegetable crops, right. So what will be happening that particular microorganisms can contaminate your vegetable also, right. And also the utensils which may have been cleaned with hot or boiling water. Okay, so what will be happen that we have to boil the water and clean the utensils by that particular boil water. Okay, and will only as a microflora those organisms that are able with and standard treatment, right. We have to treat that particular utensils with that particular water so that the microbes can be destroyed. Now utensils should be stored in an open place where dust might be collected, should be expected to have airborne pathogen yeast and molds. As I told you that from where you will store that particular resources is very important, right. Because if you kept any utensil in an open area, so what will be the chances of contamination should be high, right. There will be a chance to be dust should be collected over that particular utensils. Okay, now the next one is here, that is intestinal tract of man and animal. So here the organisms are generally found in the intestinal tract of the man, right. In that particular intestinal tract of man and animals, there are a lot of microorganisms are also present, like your bacteroids, echinocera, lactobacillus, proteus, salmonella, shigella, streptococcus and streptococcus. So these are the microorganisms which are present in your intestinal tract of man and animals. Now the other including Clostridium, Nitrobacter, Enterobacter, Pseudomonas, and these organisms through fecal dissemination of man which are found in their way directly into the soil and water. Okay, so what basically that these are the organisms which are found in the fecal dissemination of a man, like whatever fecal matter may generally what we will see that a lot of microorganisms are there, so they can spread directly in that particular fecal matter, that microorganisms can contaminate the soil as well as your that is water. Okay, so microbes can easily move from that place to another place. Now from where they may find their way to food or utensils, like if they get entered into the soil, if they get entered into the water, so there may be chances to get into the that is food utensils. The most encountered yeast in this case is candida. Okay, generally the yeast which is generally found is that candida. Next one is your food handlers. Like these organisms are generally found in the hands and outer garments of a food handlers. Like someone, yeah, one person who is handling that particular food, so there is a chances that the microbes can contaminate their garments also. Like and are a function of environment and habit in the food handlers. So there may be a chances in that particular that food should be contaminated by that food handlers, because that particular microorganisms can that you can say that the garments of the particular food handlers should be contaminated with the microorganisms, so there will be chances of cross contamination. Also, these are some bacteria that are specifically associated with hands, nasal activities and mouth. Like if there is something which is microorganisms which are there in your garment, so what will be there? Will chances of nasal cavities like nose and mouth. So these are the areas which are generally get contaminated with the microorganisms easily, which are about your micrococcus and staphylococcus. And the next one is your the genera Salmonella and Shigella are generally basically found in the intestine of a man. These are the two bacteria which are generally found in the intestine of a particular man. If maybe they get deposited on the food and utensils of a food handlers, like they also may get deposited into the food as well as into your food handlers. Now, if a sanitary practices are not followed by each individual, like if the sanitary habit like cleaning or something like that is not handled, so what will be happen that yield and most will be found on the hand garments of an individual. Yeast as well as molds can be also found in that particular hand garments are there, which are depending upon the immediate history of an individual. Like if we will not apply or follow the sanitary practices, so what will happen that yeast or a mold can also be there in the hand garments are there. Next one is your air and dust. So what will happen in air and dust? In that particular, majority of genera of bacteria are mentioned above. Some of the pathogens are found in the air and dust. Air and dust are the most important factor, as most of the pathogens or a bacteria can easily travel through the air. Like air is the major source from where the pathogens travel from one, yeah, move from one place to another. Like and also many genera of mold and yeast are found. Okay, now bacillus and micrococcus species, which are some of our notable bacteria, are found in the air and dust because of their ability to endure dryness to varying degree. Okay, so basically what we will see that the bacillus and micrococcus, which are of your notable bacteria, which are found in your air as well as in your dust. These are the bacteria which are generally found in your air as well as in your dust. How they can be where like because of their ability to enter dryness to varying degree, as they having an ability to what enter या फिर endure the dryness to a varying degree. It means that they can be having an ability to endure your dryness. Okay, so generally the microorganisms which are found in the air and dust are bacillus and micrococcus species. Okay, next one is your animal feed. So by the animal feed there are also chances to get contaminated of food. Your food get also contaminated, so these organisms are to be found in the animal feed would be actually depend upon the sources of feed, like from where we can providing the feed to the particular organisms. The treatment which are given them destroy microorganisms, like what are the kind of a treatment we are providing that will also help in getting destroying the microorganisms. The container in which they stored, like how from where it can be depend that what are the sources from where we are providing it and from where we have stored that particular feed, and what are the treatment we are giving that particular okay matlab you can say that to destroying that particular microorganism what should be you are giving that treatment. And what next is that anyone of above mentioned genera of bacteria like yeast and molds may be found in animal feed are also there. Particular importance of your salmonella which can cause the food poisoning. It means that particularly what can we say that the salmonella species are generally causing your food poisoning. The most important you can say that the which is responsible for your food poisoning is that is salmonella species. Okay, अगर कोई भी अगर आप बोलोगे कि कौन सा ऐसा ऑर्गेनिज्म है जो रिस्पॉन्सिबल होता है आपके फूड पॉइजनिंग के लिए, सो दैट इज योर salmonella. Okay, salmonella is responsible for your food poisoning. Okay, नेक्स्ट हम देखें दैट इज एनिमल हाइट्स. सो मोस्टली ऑर्गेनिजम्स इन सॉइल, वाटर, एनिमल फीड्स, डस्ट एंड फिकल मैटर आर ऑफन फाउंड इन द हाइट्स ऑफ एनिमल्स. लाइक ये सारी चीज़ें हमें जनरली ऑब्जर्व होती हैं कहाँ पे, एनिमल हाइट्स के अंदर, एंड दे आर द मेजर सोर्स ऑफ योर कंटामिनेशन. राइट, नेक्स्ट वन इज दैट फ्रॉम द एनिमल हाइट्स द माइक्रोब्स में फाइंड देयर वेज इन टू द एयर. Microbe should be get into the air, hands of our workers, directly into the food. Like air में गया, air से या you say the hands of the workers में गया और easily क्या हो गया, one place to another place transfer हो गया, travel हो गया. Some members of the hide flora and find their way into the lymphatic system of a slaughtered animal. Like sometimes they can enter into the animal's body like by nasal or a mouth and get into the lymphatic system of a slaughtered animals, from which they can migrate into the muscle tissue of the slaughtered animal. Right, so that where to get lymphatic to muscle tissue of the slaughtered animals, so they can travel from one place to animal, and what will be that they can cause different types of diseases or pathogenicity in that particular organism. Now some of the questions are there, like from where the animals carry microorganisms. As I told you earlier, कहाँ से आते हैं animals के अंदर microorganisms? As I told you that on their surface, intestine and also from the surrounding environment. Right, उनके surface पे अगर कोई भी present है तो वो आ सकता है, या उनके intestine में कोई भी microorganism present हो सकता है, as well as from their surrounding environment. Right, यहाँ से भी क्या हो सकता है, उनके अंदर जा सकते हैं. Now next one is who are capable of causing human illness. Like so both plant as well as animals that carry pathogenic microorganisms. कोई भी प्लांट या कोई भी एनिमल जिसके अंदर क्या हो पैथोजेनिक माइक्रोऑर्गेनिजम्स हो, दे कैन एबल टू कॉज योर दैट इज ह्यूमन इलनेस. ह्यूमन को बीमार करने की वो कैपेसिटी रखता है. व्हाट आर द प्राइमरी सोर्सेज ऑफ एंट्री ऑफ माइक्रोऑर्गेनिजम्स इन द फूड. फूड के अंदर माइक्रोऑर्गेनिजम्स की सोर्स की एंट्री क्या होती है, दैट इज फ्रॉम द सॉइल, वाटर, एयर and during handling and processing, transportation and storage of food. These are the sources of microorganisms in the food. Where from the soil, from the water, soil से जा सकता है, water से जा सकता है, air, या फिर handling के time अगर आपकी processing कर रहे हैं, transportation कर रहे हैं, storage कर रहे हैं, so microorganisms can enter into your food. Next one is that water contain microorganisms from where the water contain the microorganisms. Like water get contaminated from soil, raw treated sewage, pollutants entering into the water body. Okay, raw treated sewage से या फिर pollutants से that water can contaminated your what water can contaminate by these factors which are entering into the water body. Next one is that the microbial number and types vary in different types of water bodies. As you said that different water bodies contain different number of microorganisms which are generally depend upon their nutrient status. It means that in that particular water body the amount of nutrient status are there, number of organisms are also there. If higher number of nutrient status, more number of your microbes are there. If low number of nutrient status या low nutrient content, so low microorganisms are there. Right, here water which water contain human pathogenic microorganisms. Like which water which are contain the human pathogenic microorganisms which can contaminate the food and such that water cannot be treated or used without proper treatment. So which water is there, that is your sewage water. Sewage water containing your pathogenic microorganisms contain the sewage water, and this water we cannot be used without proper treatment. Now microorganisms may they get deposited on the food by the process and handled. How? By the air. Right, if we are handling or processing food, so what are the chances that particular microorganisms can enter into your food is by the air. Okay, Now, what are the sources of microorganisms in the air? How from air, how can the microorganisms can enter into the air? So of course from the dust, but dust की तरह dry soil, water spray from the natural surface water, droplets of moisture and coughing या sneezing के through, like we generally can contaminate the surrounding by coughing or sneezing. So that can also responsible for your transformation or transfer of microorganisms. Like next one is there, on what factors the number of microorganisms present on the air. How? The factors which are dependent on the microorganisms which are responsible for presenting the microorganisms in the air. So that will be your movement of air, sunshine, humidity, location, and the amount of the suspended dust in the air. The amount of suspended dust in that particular air is responsible for that particular microorganisms that are present in the air. Like if the movement of air is more, the chances of more transferring of your pathogens. Like humidity is there, so of course organisms are there. Like suspended dust in the air, if higher, so there will be higher chances of your contamination. Now, what are the primary producers? So organisms which make their own food are called primary producers. जो क्या करते हैं, which can prepare their own food by themselves are called primary producers, and they often start off the food chain. They can also start the food chain. Here is the producer, like plants. Primary consumers, that is rabbit, and the next one is your secondary consumer, that rabbit can be eaten by a snake, secondary, and that should be a tertiary, that is snake should be eaten by a, that is eagle या बाज. So that is your what, energy pyramid. So last your starting point is your producers, which are of your green plants, because they prepare their own food. Okay, so they are primary producers. Now the microorganisms like fungi and bacteria get energy and nutrients by how the fungi or bacteria get their energy, eating other plants and animals and microbes. They can eat the other plants or microorganisms for getting the energy. Okay, next one is your aerobic respiration. So what is aerobic respiration? So aerobic respiration is generally what we can say, that the respiration which requires what, oxygen. Okay, what will the aerobic respiration require? It requires your oxygen. So organisms which release energy from food, glucose as well as carbon dioxide in water. Like there is an aerobic respiration and your anaerobic respiration. Here aerobic respiration requires oxygen, but anaerobic respiration do not requires oxygen. So organisms by the aerobic respiration releases energy from where, glucose, from where glucose as well as from the carbon dioxide. Okay, next is your food spoilage. So approx how much food should be spoiled? So about 1/3 of a food get manufactured in the world is lost due to spoilage. How? Due to spoilage. How much food should be spoiled? That is your approximately approximately 1/3 food should be get your spoiled by your food spoilage. Now contamination of food can be minimized. How we can minimize the contamination of a food? So by good management process, okay, maintaining sanitary purpose, a rapid movement of food through processing plant. Okay, what good management practices processes should be there, and it is used for maintaining the sanitary purpose, rapid movement of food through processing plant. अगर हम क्या करें, अगर हम प्रॉपर एक मैनेजमेंट प्रोसेस का यूज़ करें, सैनिटरी पर्पसेस या प्रैक्टिसेस को अगर हम यहाँ पे फॉलो करें, लाइक एंड अगर हम रैपिड मूवमेंट कराएं फूड का प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट में, यानी डिले ना करें, लाइक कोई प्रोसेसिंग कर रहे हैं हम किसी की, तो कभी कुछ करें कभी कुछ करें, एक पर्टिकुलर मूवमेंट करें, रैपिड मूवमेंट करें प्रोसेसिंग का, तो कंटेमिनेशन क्या हो सकता है, कंटेमिनेशन शुड बी मिनिमाइज. ओके, नेक्स्ट वन इज योर, दैट इज sources of bacteria in food. So from where the bacteria entered in the food, that is undercooked food. अगर कोई undercooked food है, there will be chances of bacteria in there. Beef, of course beef में chances होते हैं कि there will be a microorganisms. Unpasteurized milk, of course always क्या करना है हमें, मिल्क को पास्चराइजेशन जो है वो बहुत नेसेसरी होता है to kill the microorganisms. Next one is your soft cheese, raw fruits, vegetables and contaminated water. These are generally responsible for the sources of bacteria in that particular food, that is vegetables, contaminated food, raw fruit. microorganisms can enter or spread from one to another. Okay, how can that microorganisms can enter or spread from one food to another? During the preparation process, when we are preparing the food, there will be chances to can that pathogen can enter from one place to another. Yeah, unclean and dirty kitchen utensils causes illness when those are eaten, right? If there is an dirty unclean utensils are there, so there will be chances to cause illness, and that is if we taken that particular food from that utensil, there will be chances of causing illness. So that is called cross contamination. Like it can contaminate the utensils, and if we taken food from that utensils, so there will be chances to get into that particular microorganism get into us. So it is your cross contamination. Next one is your the food manufacturer use microorganisms to make wide range of food product. Okay, so the food manufacturer generally use microorganisms to make a wide range of food products by a process of fermentation. Okay, how they can get the food, that is by the fermentation process. Okay, fermentation is the process by which the food get manufactured. We can manufacture a large amount of food, a different quantity, a quality of foods by the fermentation process. Okay, like these are the products which are, you have seen that these are made from your, that is fermentation process. So thank you everyone, this is about of today's lecture. So thank you everyone for today's lecture.